All right. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Magnetic Dating, day two, part two. And I'm going to warn you, today is going to be a little bit deeper than yesterday. Okay. And so, for that reason, I've actually changed our Thursday call time to Friday. And I've put it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Colorado time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, excuse me, London. The reason I did that is I wanted to give you more time to integrate the information, maybe watch the video again, and especially for the ladies who are signed up who are abroad. Again, I just wanted to give them some more time and space. And so I do apologize if the Friday time doesn't work for you and the Thursday night was going to work for you better. However, you will, of course, get access to the replays. And on Tuesday, we'll still have our bonus training as well at the exact same time as Friday. It's my hopes, it's my intention to support more of you, and let's just say even better, right? And so grab a pen, grab paper, save your questions till the end, especially because the chat box does distract me. So write it down, save it for the end. If you're here catching the replay, of course, you can email me your questions because I know it doesn't work for everyone to join us live. So please know that my inbox is absolutely open. You're always welcome to send me an email. All right. With all that being said, please say hello in the chat box. For those of you who are here promptly right on the dot, I love that. Yesterday, people trickled in throughout the hour, which is also beautiful. We all have busy lives and schedules. I don't take any offense at all. So let us begin. All right. And part of my request for you. Oh, hi, Rachel. Hi, Monica. All right. Who else is here? Say hi as you're jumping in. And also just give me, please, the confirmation that you can see the screen. Can you see me? And can you hear me? I always love to get this confirmation before we jump into it because I have done trainings before where the sound wasn't working, the audio wasn't, or the video wasn't working, my slides weren't working. Oh my goodness. Like anything that could go wrong has 100% gone wrong. So would just like, okay, Shell says yes and yes. Okay, perfect, 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 perfect. So I'm going to close the chat box. You're welcome to type questions in as we go along or write them down. I'm just not going to promise you that I'm going to see them. We have a lot of content. Thank you, Monica. We have a lot of content to cover in just an hour. Okay. And my otter is taking notes for us today. Amazing. All right. So yesterday, how close or far away are you to finding love? Spinster, maiden, princess, empress. Everyone identified as typically moving somewhere between maiden and princess, maybe a little bit of spinster energy, a little bit of empress energy, right? Like the flow between them all. Those of you that responded over email, amazing. I love getting your emails. Again, similar flow to what everyone that was there live was going through, right? And so with awareness comes change. And today we're going to be going into removing your hidden obstacles to love. And the reason I call them hidden, the reason that they're blind spots is that we can't see them on our own. It's with the help of another. Maybe it's a trained therapist or coach like myself, or even just a girlfriend who knows you really well that can see your blind spots. Now, seeing your blind spots isn't enough. Once you see them, how do you remove them? And so that's what we're going to get into today. Now, attachment theory. This might not have been what you were expecting, but bear with me here. The attachment style shows up in dating, and it's the biggest hidden block that's preventing you from getting the relationship that you want and why you're experiencing your patterns in dating, such as hot, cold, or stonewalling, or ghosting, or narcissistic tendencies, and more. And I know some of you are familiar with attachment theory. In fact, give me a yes in the chat box if you are. I know Rachel is. I know Monica's just starting to learn about it, but I'm just curious to know. And even if you are familiar with it, this is going to pull it all together nicely for you to help you see how your patterns are reflected back to you in your relationships or the men or women that you're dating. So once you see your pattern and identify it, or once you learn your lesson, you can move on. Okay, good. A couple yeses in the chat box. Loving it. And so the people that you're dating are reflecting back to you the unhealed parts of you so that you can see it externally to work on it internally. Now we're talking patterns here. So as we go through this, and I'm going to have you self-identify, I don't want you going off of like that one guy that you dated. That could have just been one experience in time. It's like getting a flat tire. It happened. But if you're continuously getting flat tires, you're continuously getting speeding tickets, you're continuously getting into car accidents, that's a pattern. That's something that needs to be looked at. All right. So I want you to be thinking more in the pattern terms, because this is what we want to work on, is the pattern, not the random occurrence. It happens every once in a while, but if you're seeing a pattern in your dating life, you're the consistent in the pattern. And it stems from attachment theory. And so attachment theory is like a psychological roadmap for how we connect and bond with people. It shapes our relationships, and it starts from childhood with our parents or whoever raised you. And then these experiences in childhood, think of it as the operating system, the zeros and ones in a computer. These experiences in childhood, they wire your being, which then results in different attachment styles. So if your parents securely showed you love, then as an adult, you'll have a secure attachment style. And so people with a secure attachment style, they're comfortable getting close. They're comfortable maintaining their independence while also depending on others. Whereas an anxious attachment style, which I can 100% relate to, is an emotional roller coaster, right? Like you're worried about abandonment, you seek reassurance, you fear rejection. It's kind of like the person who's like, pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me, please, 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 please. And we're going to go into all of these a little bit more. Or we have the avoidant. The avoidant is like, get away from me. I don't like emotional connection and attachment. It scares me. I might be afraid of getting hurt if I get too close. So I'm just not going to show you my emotions. I'm going to put a wall around my heart. And then the fearful avoidant, so that's more of the dismissive avoidant, but the fearful avoidant is a push-pull. It's kind of like the anxious and avoidant. And I've been there as well. And I can tell you it's hard. It's like, come close, but no, get away. So this style stems from an inconsistent or traumatic early childhood experience, resulting in this mix of anxious and avoidant behaviors. And so the goal here is to help you identify which one is yours based on what you're seeing in dating. And so again, the reason that I'm letting this lecture land for a couple of days before the next one is because I'm going to want you to really process and think about this, to look at your patterns from the past and see if you can find. You might already know because you studied attachment style what you are, in which case the goal is to move to secure, because so many of your dating challenges will go away when you've learned how to regulate your nervous system, to interact, to communicate, to set boundaries, to do all of that in a secure way. So this is where we are going today. So this is another way to look at it. And I found this little graph on the other side of toxic. So low anxiety, high anxiety. Low anxiety is the avoidant, right? They're avoiding the emotional connection. High anxiety is going to be the anxious, or sometimes the fearful avoidant, who's the combination of the two, right? Like the codependent, the why aren't they texting? Why aren't they calling? Let me reread the text thread over and over again, replay the date in my mind and the conversation over and over again. High avoidant versus low avoidant. So the low avoidant, the secure, and the anxious, because the anxious tends to be more of the codependent, like, you're amazing, how can I please you? How can I win you over? Pick me, pick me, pick me. So they have a really positive view of others, and so do the secure. Whereas the negative view of other tends to be the avoidant, right? Like, I don't want emotional connection. You're going to hurt me. And so they tend to look down on other people. And it's just coming from fear. It's not that they're naturally a judgmental person. It's that they're trying to protect themselves from getting hurt. And so one thing I want to say, and this is part of the healing journey that we're all on, and I love that attachment styles are a lot more popular nowadays. There's a guy on Instagram, Jimmy on Relationships, I think is his handle. He talks so much about attachment styles in a really fun and educational way so that you can start to recognize unhealthy behaviors in yourself or in others. So they aren't set in stone. Like I said, I've been avoidant, I've been anxious, I've been the fearful avoidant, like I've been them all. And I've also been secure. And I've also done a lot of work to be secure. But you've got to recognize what's unhealthy in order to be secure. But also, you can be secure and then go back to anxious or back to avoidant, kind of like the spinster, maiden, princess, empress. Like you can cycle through them all. So you can shift and move through them. And so when you learn how to be secure, you will build healthy, fulfilling connections. You'll see patterns, you'll identify your hidden blind spots, right? We don't see it on our own, but in relationship, we see it reflected back to us. It's like looking into the mirror. And so every date is an opportunity for learning and growth. Once you identify your patterns, you can break them. Once you learn the lesson, you don't have to learn it again. And with presence and awareness, change is always possible. So a lot of this, if not all of this, is in the subconscious, the unconscious. But we have control with presence, with your conscious mind. So rather than your knee-jerk emotional reaction, whether it's pulling away or trying to get close, you can stop, you can breathe, you can be present, you can choose your reaction. You might do mindset work, you might do breathing, you might do meditation. We're going to get into some of these tools later, but it's being present to what's going on and not in the pattern. And your attachment style is a habitual way of being, unless you choose to bring presence and awareness to it in order to change it. So I've said it before, but I'll say it again. What does this have to do with dating? The people you date are your mirror. They reflect back to you your inner beliefs. They show you the parts of you that are unhealed and the parts of you that are not in alignment with unconditional love, the parts of you that are not secure, the part of you that are anxious or avoidant. And so how it shows up is that hot and cold behavior, emotionally distant or unavailable men and women, ghosting, obsessive compulsive, overthinking, checking your texts. I'm sure you've done some of these and you can probably already self-identify without me having to go one step further. But I am going to go one step further. We go many steps further. So let's start with the anxious attachment style. So this typically develops in an early childhood experiences when your caregivers or a person's caregivers might have inconsistently met their emotional needs. Maybe one of the parents was distant, for example, or one of them wasn't there, or your parents got a divorce at an early age. And so you have like these periods of nurturing and neglect, which then as a child, you become unsure about the availability of consistent love and support. And so the uncertainty, which stems from inconsistent parenting, can lead to this heightened sensitivity and a change in relationships, making those with this anxious attachment style constantly seeking that reassurance because they didn't have it as a kid. And so that was their blueprint that was created. And so when you're an adult, your inner child is craving intimacy and fearing rejection. So anxious attachment style, here are some ways it shows up. Constant need for reassurance and validation, clingy, ruminating over analyzing, emotional highs and lows, needing lots of contact and support, fear of rejection, a negative self-view. I'm not good enough, but he is, so how can I win him over? Afraid of being alone, emotionally sensitive, experiencing jealousy and trust issues, difficulty setting and expressing boundaries, and overreaction. If you feel something could threaten the relationship, like jealousy, for example, possessiveness, maybe threatening to break them up, or just big emotional reaction. So that's the anxious attachment style and how it's showing up. Do any of you have this? Does any anxiety show up in your relationships or dating? I can 100% raise my hand. It used to be horrible in my 20s before I started doing this work that I share with my clients and that I share with all of you lovely ladies. Oh yeah, gosh, yes, yes, with 2 exclamation points. Yeah. So it stems from childhood. It's not your fault, but you can heal it. You can work on it. You can understand where it's coming from. And with that awareness and certain tools, you can bring yourself to a more secure space. Yeah, Monica says, it used to be me. Beautiful. And I mean beautiful in that it used to be. You've done work on it. And Rachel, I know you have as well. So I found this graph for this little image, which I thought was a good show of, so like, do you love me? A text, like constant reinsurance, or the worry of like, oh my God, he's going to dump me because I did something wrong, or checking the phone. Well, who's texting him? Who's he going out with? Who's he having dinner with? Oh, he's got friends with a girl, his followers on Instagram, right? Like that. Fixation on the relationship, making your relationship your entire world. It's the whole Jerry Maguire, you complete me. Panic or jealousy when they're far away, or the frequent need to please, right? Like, do you need anything? How can I help you? Can I make you dinner? Can I do this? Can I make you cookies? Like, whatever it is. It's all about the other person, but also that fear of, what if they let me go? What if this doesn't work out consistently? It can be overwhelming and exhausting, to be honest, emotionally exhausting. It's an emotional roller coaster. And so, how do you work with the anxious attachment? Well, it's also understanding healthy self-regulation strategies. So unhealthy might be like drinking or smoking or gossiping or, I don't know, binging Netflix for days, whatever it is, threatening the relationship. Like, there's a lot of unhealthy self-regulation strategies, but instead, cultivating self-awareness, practicing mindfulness to manage your overwhelming emotions. Maybe it's setting clear boundaries to avoid overdependence, engaging in hobbies that boost your self-esteem, maybe seeking therapy, learning effective communication to express your needs without clinging. There's also understanding the difference between love and your anxious heart pounding reaction. So a lot of people with an anxious attachment style think that, well, that must be love because, well, I've attached to them. Like, I love them. My heart is pounding. I need them. I think about them all the time. Like, this must be love. No, that's your anxious attachment style. And so it's learning how to manage your emotions. It's resisting dramatic reactions. It's maybe having a friend or a coach who's securely attached that you can talk to. This is one of the things I love about my group coaching. And the more my ladies understand their attachment style, I can help reflect back to them. Like, no, you're being good here. Like, your needs are valid. Yes, you get to express them. Here's how you can communicate them. So I can give them the healthy way to do it and not the anxious way to do it. Anxious can be a big emotional reaction. It can be the nagging. It can be the criticizing. It's the overreacting. Versus, how do we have this conversation in a healthy way where you express your needs, but you don't make it all about the other person? Let the emotional wave pass before you react. For me, with my human design, I need to wait 24 hours. So this has also been really good for me with healing my anxious avoidant attachment style. Like I said, I was both. I was fearful avoidant and bounced between the two. It's sometimes more avoidant than anxious or anxious than avoidant. And so understanding how to be with my emotions, how to let the emotional wave pass, how to dig deeper of what's underneath the surface. What's my need here? What's the need that's not being met? And seeing if I could meet it myself, right? So this has been a big part of that process of healing the anxious attachment. Practicing mindfulness, breath work, journaling, meditation really helps because it makes you more mindful of your reactions. So you're not reactive to your reactions, right? So it's being responsive versus reactive. So when we can cultivate that pause between stimulus and reaction, and that's why breath work, journaling, and meditation is really helpful. Learning from your past relationships and how you responded to your triggers. Again, if there's a pattern, you're the consistency. If something just happened once, I wouldn't be worried too much about it. But if in every single relationship, the guy goes cold, the guy ghosts you, that's something for you to look at. Increasing self-confidence, this is a big one. So when your self-confidence grows, right? Because anxious attachment is codependency in a way. It's all about the other person. How can I please you? Please don't leave me. Yeah, it's all about you. So when you develop your own self-confidence and raise your own self-worth, then you're self-regulating. You're meeting your own needs. You're less dependent on that external validation and approval. And the shift to more self-confidence reduces the excessive need to have that reassurance in your relationship, which then eases the anxiety associated with potential abandonment. And a big part for me is that, so I used to have anxious, also used to have avoidant. The more I've come to a place of connecting to my center and self-love, I don't have the fear of abandonment. The more I connect into abundance mindset, like I shared with you yesterday, there isn't the lack. So the anxiety isn't there. It's like, well, it's okay if this doesn't work out. There's plenty of more fish in the sea. It's not all about you. I'm going to stay connected to the vision, not the person. And oh yeah, if I'm putting love outside of me, well then let me find it within. And then another thing, you could date a secure person. Now, before I did a lot of work on my anxious attachment style, I was dating a secure person, and it made it real easy because when my shit came up, he was able to be reassuring in a super healthy way. But dating an avoidant and an anxious, no way. An anxious and an anxious, in a way, that can work because they're both trying to please the other person, but it's in an unhealthy, codependent way. And so, yeah, you can date a secure person, which can help you over time to heal your anxious attachment style, because now it's creating security with love. Ideally, I would like you to create that within first, but also know that a secure person with an anxious person, that can also work out really well. So now let's go into the dismissive avoidant. This is the type of style that develops in childhood when you don't get the care and attention you need to develop a loving relationship. And so that's why there's a strong desire for independence. Like, I have to do it all on my own. Discomfort with emotional intimacy because it wasn't ever there, and difficulty trusting others because, again, they weren't there. And so these type of people typically are not good at expressing their needs and emotions. They have a fear of intimacy, hyper independent, emotionally distant. But the thing is, they might be very social and easygoing and fun to be around because, well, they're independent. They have their shit together. They might even be the ones that are investing in the personal development, and they build up their confidence and their personal success. They seem to be in control. And so relationships different. Like, they might have a lot of friends, they might be social, they might be fun to be around, they might be successful, they might be confident in their career, but you get into a relationship with them and they will keep you at arm's length. They are so scared to be vulnerable. They're so scared to be intimate, difficulty understanding their feelings and expressing them because they don't have that history. There wasn't anything created in childhood that says it's safe to love and be loved. Like, my caregivers are there. So there was a lack of emotional support or connection. And this could also be mommy wasn't there, daddy wasn't there, maybe both parents weren't there. Maybe you were raised by the nanny, babysitter, right? Whereas the fearful avoidant, as I said, that's kind of the combination of anxious avoidant, anxious dismissive. It's the push-pull. And so this is, how do I want to say it? Something happened in childhood where the parents were no longer the source of safety, they were the source of fear. Maybe something big and traumatic happened. Maybe there was sexual or emotional or physical abuse. And so what was once your source of safety is now your source of fear. Or if your parents were highly contrasting behavior, like inconsistent and unpredictable, like one day they're loving and then one day they're fighting and ignoring you. And so then the child is fearing for their safety, like this unpredictability, and they don't know what to expect. They don't know when their caregiver is going to meet their needs at all. And so that's why there's the push-pull of like, love me, but I don't trust you, so stay away. And so they can have a difficult time having your emotional regulation difficulties, extreme outbursts of emotion. They might alternate between being overly close and expressing their emotions and then pulling back and putting up the wall and stonewalling you. It's this push-pull. They might have a lack of healthy coping mechanisms during times of stress, like impulsive or addictive behaviors. A complete disassociation from uncomfortable emotions, like wanting to push them down, ignore them, pretend they don't exist, strong belief that others will hurt them, negative view of themselves and others. So again, this can shift. So if you're an avoidant attachment, first thing, of course, is learn. Learn about your attachment style from a place of non-judgment. It happened when you were a baby, before the age of 7. It's just what happened. We don't blame our parents. We don't blame our caregivers. It is what it is. They were doing the best they could with the tools that they had. I firmly believe that. So educate yourself, do some research, really understand like this is your knee-jerk reaction, but with present awareness, you can shift it. So the avoidant attachment who doesn't want to be connected, well, your work is on practicing open communication and active listening, understanding where your emotions come from and communicating them openly rather than bottling them up and then allowing them to explode internally or externally. Understanding, tuning into, and advocating for your needs. So the avoidant can just ignore it and push it away, which then turns to the bottling and blowing up. And so exploring, understanding, expressing your emotional needs. Connect to your feelings every single day. One of the exercises I give my clients is just put your hand on your heart and ask yourself how you feel. What do I need? So the avoidant is not necessarily connected to their feelings. And so it's important that you practice connection to your feelings. Pay attention to the emotional and physical sensations that come up around intimacy, especially. Self-reflection helps you to make sense of and analyze existing patterns. You need to practice vulnerability with those you trust, those that you know are going to hold space for you, that aren't going to reject you or ridicule you or push you away. And then learning how to regulate your own nervous system. This is also same for the anxious attachment style, right? Like we are responsible for ourselves. And if we don't know how to regulate our nervous system, that's when we go into these patterns. That's when we have our emotional outburst or push people away, or we get fearful. We think that I'm never going to find love again. Like it's our responsibility to understand ourselves and learn how to regulate our own nervous system rather than looking externally for someone else to try to do it for us. And I said, you could date someone who's secure and that could help, but I want you to be able to do this for yourself. And honestly, someone who's secure is probably not going to end up with an avoidant because the avoidant is either A, not available for emotional intimacy, or the fearful avoidant is going to be this ping pong ball. And again, someone who's secure is like, it doesn't work for me. They'll only try for so long before they walk away. And we could say the same thing could be said with someone who is secure, partnered up with someone who's anxious. They might be tired of the constant reassurance or the person getting clingy or jealous. And so it's in your best interest, of course, to learn how to be secure. And when you learn how to be secure and you heal your anxious or avoidant attachment style, it affects your dating reality. Because again, the people that you're meeting, the patterns that you're seeing. And so this is why when I say uncover your hidden patterns, this is going to have to be a reflective exercise for you. I want you to spend the next couple of days digging into your past and getting clear, am I anxious or avoidant? And how does it show up? So quick little poll here. Let me see if it will pull up. It's not, but that's okay. So why don't you type in the chat box, do you identify more with anxious or avoidant? And if you identify with avoidant, is it fearful avoidant, where it's like the ping pong ball, the push pull, versus the like just typical avoidant, dismissive avoidant is like, nope, zero emotional intimacy. And then the anxious is more that codependent come close. What are we saying? Anxious. Okay. What else? Both. I was told I was anxious avoidant, so I would just call that fearful avoidant, right? Because that really is both. That is like the push pull. Okay, cool. So we've got a good mix here. And again, there's no judgment. There's nothing right or wrong with whatever your attachment style is, but it's learning how to shift to secure. So here's the thing, question. So you all identified as anxious or fearful avoidant. Is this something that you would want support on? Would you like to be secure? Yes or no? Put it in the chat box, right? Full participation. So shifting to secure has to do with, let's see, Yes, 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 yes. Sure. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like we all want to be secure. Of course we do. So you're not alone. We have insecure attachment styles and you all want to shift to secure. Great. So it's completely possible to learn how to act in a secure way, but you've got to slow down. You've got to be present to your emotional and your knee-jerk reactions and act with intention. Your past does not need to define your present or your future, but you can look to your past for clues and patterns and how you've been acting or how people you've been dating have been acting. Because again, we can't always see it for ourselves. We need it reflected back to us in partnership or in pattern. So shifting to secure, you got to understand where you're at right now, right? Like we scratched the surface a little bit here today. Challenge the negative or limiting beliefs you have about yourself. Because no matter which attachment style you have, there is still well, with the anxious, especially, right? Like, I'm not good enough. I need the other person. But even with the fearful avoidant, we've got some of that. The dismissive avoidant, well, they can have some trust issues. They can have some limiting beliefs about themselves, 100%, especially about love, right? And so challenging and changing your limiting beliefs in general is going to be really important, the conscious and unconscious work. Connecting to, listening to, and soothing your inner child on the daily, because all of this stem from childhood. So your knee-jerk reaction is your inner child, not your adult child, even though your adult is the one who's acting, right? Your 40, 50-year-old adult is acting in an anxious or avoidant way, but it came from your inner child. So you're going to have to reparent your inner child on the daily. Learn how to regulate your nervous system. There's breath work, there's tapping, there's even dance and movement. Practicing healthy communication, asking for what you need, connecting to your feelings on the daily, setting healthy boundaries, practice meditation. Like, this is stuff I know that you all know, especially because many of you, whether you're here live or recorded, I saw everybody who signed up. Many of you have been in my courses and programs. So you know, this is what we focus on in my courses and programs. I just don't advertise it as get a secure attachment style. It's how do you get and keep the relationship that you want? Well, you have to be secure because it's going to be an emotional roller coaster if you're insecure and anxious, or you're not really going to get the depth of connection if you're an avoidant. So truly, all of this is about how do I shift to secure? And so that's why all of this is included in my courses and programs. So the characteristics, right? I even say it here on my screen. The characteristics is you're trusting yourself and others. You have stable self-esteem. You're worthy of self-respect. You feel worthy of respect and love. You're able to see the world from another person's perspective. And this is huge, especially with the avoidant. What's going on for that person? Rather than it's all about me. And even the anxious, what's going on for that person? Not how can I get them to like me? Where are they at? So getting out of your own perspective, seeing things from another perspective is really important with healthy relating. Reflecting on your behaviors and your mental state objectively, and having a positive outlook on life and love. Again, all of this is characteristics of a secure attachment style. And after 7 years, I almost said 9, but after 7 years of love coaching, I can tell you that my clients are all either anxious or avoidant or combinations of the two, because if they were secure, I believe they would already be in that relationship because they've worked on their beliefs, they trust themselves, they have high self-esteem, they feel worthy of love. They're learning their lessons, positive outlook on life. And so learning all of this and becoming securely attached is what is going to support you in the dating world so that you can see these habits or patterns in other human beings. And you can either decide, nope, not for me, or you see it in them and you ask yourself, what is this reflecting back to me? If I'm constantly in these patterns of men who are emotionally unavailable, for example, I hear this a lot. ooh, then I need to tap in and ask myself, am I an avoidant? Am I scared to express my emotions? Am I anxious? Am I making it all about them and trying to please them? And they're probably an avoidant if I'm anxious, and so I'm pushing them away. And so it always is going to come down and back to you, which is a good thing, because then you're in control of your dating reality when you're acting in a secure way. So, with all of this being said, before we get into questions, this is the perfect time for me to share with you Magnetize. Magnetize is my group coaching container. And the next cohort runs from December to March 2025, so December 2024. And so, if manifesting your person is a goal of yours in 2025, this is the time to begin, like to get a jump start on 2025. Now, here's why now is the best time to jump in, even though we start in December. Here's how I've created it so perfectly for you to get the results that you want, to heal your anxious or avoidant attachment style, to act and date securely, to get and keep the relationship that you want. So within Magnetize, you'll learn how to meet and date higher caliber men, take pleasure in the dating process, master feminine attraction, and learn the foundations for lifelong love. This takes a while. Magnetize in and of itself is for 4 months long. Now, there is a bonus though, 2 months before we even begin. So you get 6 months together, so that by the time we hit, let's say December, when Magnetize begins, and we've got holiday parties, which are a wonderful opportunity to practice dating and meeting great men. But not only that, the bullshit that comes with the holidays, right? Of like, what happened with the guy you were seeing? When are you going to settle down? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have babies? Like the constant anxiety that used to come along with that, you'll feel confident. Like, no, I feel good. My person's going to show up when they show up. I'm dating. I get to choose the man, right? Like that anxiety goes away. And so that's why I want to give you 2 extra months. And in those 2 extra months, I forgot I had testimonials here. Tori, Malaysia, Lauren, another Tori testimonial, Jennifer, Lacey, all these people that have manifested their person using the tools in Magnetize. But where I was going with that is the reason what I'm giving you over those 2 extra months is the access to embodied. Now, I know some of you are actually in embodied right now. I closed down the membership because I'm focusing from here on out primarily on the group coaching over and over and over again. Same start time, same finish time, everybody going through the same thing at the same time. Now, but with embodied though, this is an all access pass to all of my other courses. And so you get to start healing your attachment style and jump into love, turn the search inward, which is all about self-love, connecting to your needs and your emotions and being able to express them in a healthy way, putting yourself first, right? Healing that codependency. Or boundaries. There's an entire course on boundaries. How do you speak up? How do you communicate? This is going to be important for the anxious attachment style. Mastering online dating, understanding men and women, flirting, masculine, feminine energy. And so all of this is meant to give you that 2-month head start so that when we begin Magnetize in December, you're not starting at the beginning. You're having all of this extra time. And within Embodied, we have monthly calls and even a weekly Voxer coaching day. So you will still get access to me within the group setting to answer your questions, to support you, to coach you as you're working on this stuff and healing either your anxious or your avoidant attachment style. All to help you feel confident in knowing that your person's on their way. Time is not running out. You don't need to rush things. You've mastered feeling secure in your body. And then the second bonus is $1,000 off enrollment until October 17th. The bonus of Embodied alone is pretty much the cost of Magnetize. And so then I wanted to also early bird discount. You're here with me live. You're caring about magnetic dating. You care about getting that type of relationship that you want. And so my additional bonus to you is $1,000 off enrollment until October 17th. Now, for those of you that are in Embodied or have been in Magnetize in the past, I do have a different special bonus for you. So you're welcome to reach out to me. I think most of you have already reached out to personally to let you know. But if I haven't, please let me know. If you've been an embodied in the past or magnetized in the past or a private client in the past, reach out if you're interested in this round. I have a super special, sweet and juicy bonus for you that is not this. That's the link. I will send it out to your email as well. So now we can get into questions. Your AI is about to leave. Yeah, he did that yesterday. That's okay. I don't know why my AI can't hear me, but that's fine. Whatever. We've got the majority of the notes from the meeting. So let me stop the share and put my beautiful face. Oh, now the poll jumps up. Okay. Put my beautiful face back on camera. Questions. What questions do you have? Either on attachment style and how it pertains to you in dating, or on the Magnetize Group Coaching Program, which is designed to help you be secure in dating, right? So healing trust issues, setting boundaries, healthy communication, connecting to your heart, being vulnerable, expressing your needs and your emotions. All of this is within Magnetize. And then the bonus of embodied is to give you a couple extra months before we even begin to be working on all of this so that you're ready come the holidays, you're ready come January, you're ready come Valentine's Day, right? Like you're no longer acting in one of those ways that is your hidden barrier. All right, if I am anxious and I'm dating an avoidant, how is that a mirror? Beautiful question. Okay, so anxious and avoidance, they tend to end up with each other. And what we need to understand is that a mirror isn't necessarily a tit for tat mirror. So what the avoidant is mirroring back to you. So if you're the anxious, it's all about him. Give me your love, give me your love, give me your love. How can I please you? And the avoidant won't give it to you. And so then it flares up your attachment style even more. Give me your love, give me your love, give me your love, give me your love. So the mirror is so that you can see, oh, I'm reaching out to you. Please give me your love, give me your attention. Why haven't you texted? Why haven't you called me? Why did you disappear? Why were you so hot and heavy and love bombing me and then ghosting me? It's so that you can see that you're anxious, so that you can see the parts of you that are unhealed. And so that's why the anxious and the avoidance end up together, because the avoidance pulling back. And when the avoidant pulls back, the anxious moves forward. And the more the anxious moves forward, the more the avoidant pulls back. Or it's the push-pull. And let's say you try pulling away as the anxious. Sometimes the avoidant then steps further forward. And so then you have this unhealthy dynamic of push-pull where neither one of you feels secure. Yeah, I've been there. It was heartbreaking. I saw myself going crazy. I've been there as well. And so this is why hidden blind spots, we've got to recognize it within ourselves. If you have anxious tendencies, you're going to be chasing after, whether they're avoidant or secure, or they're also anxious. But if you tend to be the person who has a wall around your heart, anytime, let's say you're the avoidant and they're anxious, anytime they try to get close to you, you pull away. You're scared to be in your heart. You're scared to express your feelings, your emotions, to be vulnerable. Well, then guess what the anxious person is showing you? That you're afraid of your feelings. You're afraid to trust. You're afraid to love. And so if you're always in relationships where they're trying to get close and you're like, quit, what's the word? Smothering me. You're too clingy. Then what the anxious is mirroring back to you is your own insecurities around love. So this is why we get to dig beneath the surface. This is why I want you to be looking at past relationships. Can you see some patterns? Can you maybe self-coach yourself? What was this showing me about me? Rachel, you just blew my mind. This is why I said today's deep. It takes a high level of awareness and willingness to look at ourselves and not blame other people. I've experienced this in relationship, and I was able to walk away with compassion for the other person. No blame towards them, no guilt or shame towards myself. No, I could have done better, but just recognizing that's their avoidant or fearful or anxious attachment style. And if they're not willing to work on it, then there's nothing I can do. But is it reflecting anything back to me that I need to work on? So this is what I want you to walk away with today. I really want you to spend some time looking at all your past relationships to see what it was reflecting back to you. And then if you want support, being in a secure space, being able to identify when someone else is being avoidant or anxious, communication skills that you can use, because just because someone is avoidant or anxious doesn't mean that you can't partner up with them. Relationships are beautiful vehicles for personal development and spiritual growth. And if someone is also willing to have a conscious relationship, regardless of their attachment style, then that means you can support each other. You can hold the mirror up when their anxiety is flaring up or their avoidance is flaring up. Again, I tend to have both. I will sometimes avoid and pull back, and I've had to learn to speak up and say, hey, I'm just taking some space to process. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, right? And then I can go self-soothe my inner child and then come back securely. And so if this is what you desire support with, then Magnetize is for you. I'll send the link out in the email. It's emeraldsinclair.com/magnetize. Early bird until next Thursday. You're also welcome to email me with any questions that you have. Do we have any other questions on today? I'm actually impressed how quickly we got through it. Yay, good job, us. Yay, that was great. Good. Monica, do you have a question? Was your yes on the question, or what was your yes in reply to? Yeah, so like this is, the overriding understanding of the different attachment styles. And unfortunately, the majority of the human beings are not secure. But this is our work to become secure. Monica, I got disconnected. I had a question. Okay, what's your question? Do you want to unmute yourself? Do you want to type it in? Do you want to come on camera? Completely up to you. I'm working on becoming secure. Beautiful. Or even we can say I'm working on acting in a secure way, because it might be that we never fully heal our attachment style if we're anxious or avoidant. It's that we learn to recognize it and we act consciously instead. So when the anxiety flares up, we're like, wait a second, how can I work my way through this? It's like, I don't think we ever are fully healed. It's like we have to bathe every single day. We have to do this type of work every single day. There we go. Yep, I think I just answered your question. Does one still have a tendency to float over to anxious from time to time? Yes. I still have a tendency to float to anxious or avoidant, but I learn to recognize them for what they are, and then I consciously choose to act in a different way. So again, when I notice myself pulling back, that's when I need to speak up and say, I'm pulling back, I'm taking my space, I'll come back to you tomorrow, for example. Or if I'm anxious, like checking the text, why hasn't he responded? What's going on? Is he going to break up with me? That might be when I slow down and do breath work or mindset work or journaling into my worth, right? Like some of the tools outlined in Love, Turn the Search Inward. So maybe with enough work, right? Like I'm 38, been doing this work in this lifetime for 20 years, and I still don't feel 100% secure all the time. Maybe by the time I'm at 88, I will. But I think with anything, like balance is not a stationary place. We move through balance, right? And so I also view the attachment styles as fluid. We move through them. We come back to center. Ooh, we're anxious, back to center. Ooh, avoidant, back to center, right? And so it's just understanding yourself. It's understanding your triggers. It's understanding communication. It's understanding boundaries. It's understanding tapping in. And I think it gets easier with time. In fact, I know it does, because it's what I've seen in my experience and with my clients. And so continue doing the work. The more you work on understanding yourself, the more you work on healing some of those past traumas with everything that I talked about, right? Like, this is why I encourage you all to go back and watch the replay. Look at the steps outlined for healing your attachment style. Let that be your focal point. And if you want support with that for the next 6 months, then Magnetize would be for you. And I'm here to support you with that. Yes, I think having that heightened sense of awareness is helpful and important. And this is why in so many of the slides, I said presence, awareness, slowing down, being mindful, meditation, right? Then we're creating more distance between stimulus and reaction. We're not reacting, we're choosing how we're responding. And so someone cut you off in traffic, your knee-jerk reaction might be to flip them the bird and yell at them versus you pause, you breathe. I hope everything's okay, right? And so it's like that for anything in your life, especially in relationships, you being the one in control of your reactions and your emotional reality. You recognizing your patterns, your push or your pull, and you choosing to act, think, believe differently. You being reflective of the people that you're dating or the patterns that you've seen. And rather than just point the finger and blame them or make up a story, you say, well, what does this reflect back to me? What is this showing me? What is this teaching me? This is what I believe is the path to happily ever after, because you're the only person that I can guarantee that you'll be with for the rest of your life. And as it pertains to magnetic dating, well, the person who is secure is incredibly magnetic, because if you're secure, you're going to feel when someone's clingy. You're going to feel when they're avoidant. And you're going to see it, right? Like, you take everything that we learned today and you learn nothing more about attachment theory. This is in your mind. And so you'll start to see people behave in certain ways. So it will help you have discernment in dating. Or when you're secure, you're no longer worried about them running away. You don't need their love. It's not all about them. But you can open your heart and be expressive and vulnerable and emote. And so this is why your attachment style truly is, under the surface, at your core, your biggest hidden block. Because it started in childhood. It formed that blueprint of love and how we relate to others as it pertains to love. And until you're aware of that and consciously work on healing it, you're going to have these blocks, these blind spots come up over and over and over again. All right, my loves, are there any other questions on today? So again, the last part, we changed it to Friday to give more time to catch the replay, to maybe watch it again, to reflect, to process. And then on Friday, we'll get into action steps. How can you show up over the weekend and potentially get some more dates? Or how can you show up over the weekend with different lens of how it is that you're interacting with people, whether in real life or maybe even in online dating, having more of an awareness, or with yourself, how are you showing up? Ooh, am I going to my anxiety? Am I going into my avoidant pattern? Right? Like, I really want you to use this weekend as getting out into the world and practicing that self-awareness, as Monica says, that heightened sense of awareness. So we'll get into more of that on Friday so that you can go out into the weekend and be incredibly self-aware. And then on Tuesday, we'll have our bonus call where we're going to do some live hot seat coaching, Q&A. We'll go through my high caliber date accelerator process, which I know some of you know, and ultimately give you more tools to help prepare you for the relationship that you desire, to help you go out into the world with fresh eyes when you're dating, so that not only are you magnetic to the right types of people, but you understand different attachment styles in other people so that you can avoid some heartbreak, hopefully a lot of heartbreak. All right, my loves. Yay. Yay. Oh, you're welcome, Monica. Thank you for the heart, Rachel. Okay, good. Yay. I'm so happy you were all able to be here live. For those of you catching the replay, if you have follow-up questions, you can send them over email And I'll get to them on Friday or on the Tuesday Q&A. All right, I'm sending you all so much love.